Today we are starting with early voting. All right, that is now part of our state constitution. It is set to start in 2024, but there are some parts of the state right now that are piloting early voting for this November election, and they are voting right now. I caught up with Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson earlier this morning in Westland. That is one of the places that has the early voting, to talk about the process. So how has the early voting piloting gone? It's in 12 counties so far around the state.
Yep, 12 counties and municipalities all around the state. Yesterday I was in Lansing and East Grand Rapids, where we've seen in East Grand Rapids over 100 people already vote early in a local election, which was quite extraordinary. So we're seeing when citizens know that they can vote early, they want to take advantage of it. And part of the reason I'm stopping by Westland today is to both see the operation, which is extraordinary, very well organized, great job by the clerk, but also to see, how people are experiencing it as voters, so that we can take this information and get ready for next year.
All right, so next year is to start with the presidential primaries, right?
Yeah, in Michigan, because voters amended our state constitution to put early voting into the law in 2022, we will have in every statewide election moving forward at least 9 days of early voting in every community in this state, starting with the February 27th presidential primary.
All right, so what has been some of the process for the clerks around the state to get ready for this? And I mean, we see all these great workers here that are ready for people to come in and to vote, because it also depends on a municipality how many days of early voting that they want to have.
Yeah, every municipality in a statewide election has to have at least 9 days. Now, in a local election like this one, clerks can choose, and that's why you see variations throughout the state. But at the same time, people can always vote from home up to 40 days before any election. So lots of options to vote. But seeing an operation like this in Westland, where you've got dozens of election workers here ready to make sure everyone can vote early if they want to, is really inspiring and should give voters a lot of faith in the process. We've got a lot of security provisions in place to make sure everyone can only vote once, even if they vote early, and it's great to see the election workers and the clerk really take those provisions seriously.
Okay, so people will say, what's the difference between absentee and early voting? Because absentee, you can spoil your ballot, but if you come early voting, once you put it in the tabulator, that's it.
Yeah, early voting is early voting, just as you would on election day. You get your ballot, fill it out, and put it into the machine, and you're done. Yeah. For absentee voting, you can vote from home and return your ballot whenever you want, through a drop box, through the mail, or in person at your local clerk's office, and that will be counted on election day.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about security, because there has been so many questions, of course, about the validity of our vote and the safety of our vote, and what does early voting do for that, or how would you explain?
Well, a number of things. One, it ensures that we're tabulating ballots as they are counted, and it gives voters an opportunity to see their ballot actually counted through the machine, as opposed to when you vote absentee, you send in your ballot and you wait to get a verification later that it's been counted. So you get that satisfaction of knowing your ballot has been entered into the machine and is secure. And then we've developed new technology through our e-poll book to make sure once someone does vote early, we know it, it's in the system, and there's no opportunity for them to get another ballot or vote again. So these security protocols as well are what we're testing out to make sure they work in time for next year.
People also wonder, how does this change the results that we get? I mean, will it change the timing of the results at all?
It may enable us to deliver results sooner. Now, in November 2020, which is our highest turnout election ever, we delivered results within 24 hours of the polls closing. So we've already got that down well, even when there's two-thirds of voters voting absentee. So I anticipate and hope we'll see those results come even more quickly this year, but it always depends on the closeness of the races and many other factors.
We're going into the 2024 presidential election, and it always causes me to take a deep breath about, in terms when people think about their vote being counted and thinking about when they get the results of the election, that is the fair and the true process in Michigan. It will always be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
What are your concerns going into 2024?
Misinformation. I mean, we have a lot of new opportunities to vote, like early voting. We want citizens to know the truth about our elections. We want them to know the truth about their options to vote and have faith, rightfully placed faith, that whatever option they choose, their vote will be secure, their vote will be counted, and that we can trust the results of the election to be an accurate reflection of the will of the people.
We've seen some bills moving through Lansing right now, specifically clerk intimidation bills going through. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm really great that our lawmakers are taking seriously the need to protect the people who protect democracy, and that's what we're seeing here today. Dozens of people who show up every day to make sure the process works. We have to make sure if people are threatening those individuals, which has happened in our state and other states over the last few years due to misinformation, that we protect them and that we strengthen the penalties for anyone who would try to interfere with our elections or with individuals' fundamental right to vote.
Yeah, this is a process here. I mean, we see all of these smiling faces. Everyone, you're like ready to work on this. What are some of the other clerks saying to clerks saying, all right, is this working for you? I mean, what do I need to troubleshoot for February 24?
Because only 12 municipalities and counties around the state are piloting this early voting period. We're seeing clerks visit from other communities. We've seen clerks from Livonia come here today to see how it's going.
Yeah, just saw
and,
Susan
and,
Ash,
and elsewhere, everywhere I've gone, you've seen in Lansing, clerks from Coldwater were coming in to just see the process. So the clerks who've stepped up to actually do this pilot are showing the best practice to the state, and it's really both inspiring and encouraging because the other clerks are taking note, and you'll start to see a very well-organized effort to prepare for the February presidential primary starts soon after this election.
Yeah, and Michigan is joining a lot of other states around the country who are already doing this.
Yeah, many states already allow citizens to cast their ballots early, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina. So we're also able to take advantage of those best practices, and we've talked with clerks around the country to make sure we get it right here in Michigan.
All right, sounds good. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, it's good to see you. Thanks for
too.
being with me. All right, so I was out in Westland this morning. So Westland started their early voting yesterday. It's today and it's tomorrow. I mean, as you can imagine, because this is new and people are still learning that this is available, the numbers have been low. So they told me that yesterday they had about 26 people that came and did some early voting. And while we were there this morning, we were there for about an hour or so. There was only 3 people that came through. But this is really part of the process of getting the word out, getting people to understand that they will be able to do early voting. I mean, even early voting on a Saturday, so you don't have to wait until Election Day. The access is there, and it's really about making a difference and increasing the opportunity and access for people to vote.